I just got through watching a video by Hard to Hurt called When Meth Heads Attack. It was a good video. It talked about a good bit of the small percent of these stories of some meth head jumping somebody out the bushes and like overpowering them, which is interesting because I've never heard of that. But anyway, and then he was talking, it's more likely for a family member to attack you, or you have some type of altercation with and all that. And I very much agree and believe with that. But I think there's a certain amount of truth that people also don't realize. So Mike talked about the first thing, which is the way out of the way probably not going to happen scenario. And he talked about the second one, which is the more likely scenario. And I'm going to talk about the third one, which is the one kind of mixture of the two. The third one is kind of mixture of the two. Now, something Mike said that I liked was fact they say, it's probably some family member that's not that great, or some person that down the road has got problems, and it's probably a possible threat. It's probably going to happen with them, most likely from one day. And I don't know how bad in certain places of the world this meth thing is, but the area I live in, South Carolina, in fact, I don't live that far from where Mike's gym's at. Not that far. It's kind of far, just not real far, okay? It's far, just not real far. So the area where I live at, and by the way, it's nowhere at the beach, okay? I wasn't saying that. Does this look like the beach to you? Even though I know there's wilderness on their places away from the actual beach part, but anyway. So, yeah. The biggest thing back in the day, like when I was growing up as a young kid to like probably teenager to starting young adult in school, I'd always heard about this thing called crack. That was the main thing I heard growing up. That was the thing I heard from my parents, hey, them people that do bad stuff, they do these drugs, and eventually I kept on hearing this word crack. So I'm like, okay. Then later I heard the full term, people call it crack cocaine, a man-made version of it. But anyway, so that was the longest main thing out here. Now after school, I started hearing about this thing called meth. And I graduated back in 2014, by the way, for those of y'all was wondering. I started hearing more and more over the years. So crack started dying down. I heard about this thing called meth. Why was I hearing about this thing called meth? Because people out here was cooking it and doing it on it. And at all those years people out here doing that, I had never heard no story where some meth person broke into a person's house or tried to hijack their car or whatever. I've heard plenty of stories back when plenty of people, probably places was on crack, and people that's doing meth now were stealing stuff from people. I've heard plenty of that. Where people on whatever type of drug were stealing stuff from people. This is where I'm going with this. So I used to be friends, with a dude that smoked weed. Weed isn't really that bad, but for some people it can be, depending on, I guess, like how well your brain works or whatnot. And at the same time, if anybody says, oh, weed's not addictive, you're fucking lying. Okay? Anyway, so yeah. We was working for this fella. Me and the dude I used to be friends with that smoked weed. That dude hung out with a little bit, was kind of bad. I knew the dude was kind of bad. But I trusted this person. And the dude was acting like he was trying to do better. Well, he ended up getting up on meth, okay? He ended up getting hooked up on that. And yeah, we had heard about it, this and that, heard stories. We had heard the dude that was going to visit down the road was supposedly doing it with him. I don't know if they was both just smoking it or they was actually making it. I believe in one thing he asked one time, I believe they was either trying to make it or making it, because he asked for if anybody had a pair of gloves, and he said they had to be plastic. And I don't know if he was talking about some plastic disposable gloves or some like really thick pair of plastic, but it said they had to be plastic. So just from looking at stuff off movies, that just made me think that. Now, please don't mind the shirt I've been wearing this past few days working on something, okay? Now, so I remember speaking also to a person on Instagram, a video chat, and I was telling them about some of the instances that happened revolving around all this. And I remember him saying, well, you just stay away from people that do that. Don't hang out with people that do that. This is the thing. And anybody that was not on something one day can just be on that same thing one day. It's not that I was hanging around people that was just straight up all just doing drugs, which also sometimes that's kind of hard actually for some places. Depending on where you grow up with at that time, especially me not being that much after school and not having that many people to talk to, because I live right in the freaking middle of nowhere. And also at that time, most of my friends from school I didn't get to see. If anybody's ever heard the term, like after you pretty much graduate high school, some of your high school friends ain't friends no more. That's it. You drift apart, etc., etc. Anyway, so I'm gonna get back to my point in a minute, okay? This is part also I want to say, but I want to say it before I forget. So everybody hears just stay away from the type of people and you'll have no problems. Well, besides me probably not should trust a person used to smoke weed, to trust him, to trust that other person. Totally my fault. The whole thing about the person we was working for doing roofing at the time, hiring that dude. Like, I knew he had done bad drugs in the past. I knew he seemed like he was trying to do better. But we didn't know that he was going to end up doing that. But it was the newest thing. It was the newest thing that seemed to be around the time. And some people definitely, I've heard people that get high on drugs. The first time they get high, they won't experience that again. And they never can. So they try harder and harder stuff. I've heard that. So, sometimes people, this is the reality of it, okay? For people out there think, oh, well, if you don't want to get in this, then you should stay away from this. And I'm saying that's wrong. We live in the world, all right? People in the world do bad things. I don't care how far you go from anywhere, any version of society, whether it be to get away from drugs, violence, and people killing people, whatever, okay? It's not always drugs. Sometimes it could be just people just can't handle their drink sometimes. And when they do, they want to fight or whatever. And other than that, they're fine all them other times. Every person is usually fine until they're on that stuff. They don't always tell people, hey, I'm on this stuff. I might start acting weird. It kind of just happens sometimes. Alright, now obviously there are some people that know they can't handle alcohol. There are people that know that person can't handle alcohol and they try to keep them away from it. But for all the people, that go to bars and this and that and they drink not to get drunk, that's just what they do, and sometimes fights happen in bars. I find it kind of unusual for people to stop living their lives just because other people can't live the life properly or something, can't control themselves. It's like, well, it's always a statement. It's like, well, you should avoid all this stuff and just like find this utopia where nothing bad happens. I don't care if you're living on some island right now that nobody knows exists, and there's none of this stuff. There's none of this stuff happening. Over time, everything bad's gonna find us. Okay. Whether you believe in the biblical scriptures or not, it pretty much says, I believe towards Revelation, the world's going to get worse and worse, everything, all that, all right? I don't care where you are. So when people say, and I'm not saying this to say, oh yeah, man, you should just be around these places, these people, because it doesn't matter. No, I'm not saying that. When people say, well, you should avoid being around these people, make sure this doesn't happen, blah, blah, blah. And people say that. I'm going to try to break it down and understand the context of it is, when you're a young kid, who you hang around, what you grow up around is kind of your thing. What's that thing, Vlad TV, that podcast, he was interviewing Mike Tyson. And And it was like, you see these people as friends, but they're kind of like the bad guys or something or whatever, because I guess they'd done drugs or something, I don't know. And Mike Tyson got me like, what do you mean they're the bad guys? What do you mean they're bad people? They always helped out my mother when she needed money. They always got her milk when she needed milk. What you mean by that? You know. So the whole mindset, well, just don't hang around those types of people. If you're in some part of the world where it doesn't just happen that much, just wait a good amount of years. It's going to. It's going to be the whole entire world at some point. Okay? So just because it's not like that for you in your area, that doesn't mean everybody has the luxury of people. And it's not that these places are just automatically that bad. Where I live used to be a good place. The county over used to be a good place. That county was a good place. Over time, bad things happen, okay? And sometimes, at a young age of being a young kid, who you're left to hang out with is that. Now, I never had no interest in alcohol and cigarettes and drugs. I might have tried weed like 1 or 3 times at the most. The reason I say 1 or 3, that's actually a stupid way to say that. I should have said like 2 or 3. Okay, besides that, the point was, that this other person that actually, these 2 people lived together. One was related to me. One was my cousin. The other person that ended up doing the meth, he was kind of like an in-law. And they lived across the road from me. Lived there majority of all my entire life, okay? So one of the people was the people that got work with a job with us anyway. So yeah, there was, the one that smoked weed got upset with one of the people, the one that we heard started doing the meth was hanging out with. And he was hanging out with that dude just to do meth. That's it. That's the only reason they hung out together. Nothing else. They didn't like each other. They just wanted to do drugs together. That's it. So, anyway, stuff happened. People got in arguments. Eventually, somebody almost got stabbed, but the way the knife hit, because the tip was broke, I guess, it kind of went that way. It was more of a cut, etc., etc. Later on down the line, the other person that was my cousin, I told my dad, it's like, you need to stop giving this dude money. He doesn't do nothing good with it. He just buys stuff to not help him at all. And like, look, I'm going to have a talk with this person, or something bad's going to happen if you're not going to handle this pretty much, okay? He doesn't need money. He doesn't need to be coming in the house getting all this money and whatever that is no good for him. And he was intoxicated the last night of that story. He wanted a gun for something. I found out the person with him outside was one of the people that stole my Uncle Glenn's pump. Dang, wish I hadn't said my uncle's name. I'm sorry about that, uncle. I try to give people's names. I just say my uncle or whoever. My uncle's pump. So, yeah, I come back inside. I'm getting ready to run the dude outside off. I was going to take my other person, my cousin, just home and talk to him before it. But no, he thinks we're about to mess his car up. We're about to jack the dude outside up. We're about to jack him up. He starts advancing towards me, hands raising up, getting ready to possibly hit me. I put it on him first. I put him on the floor. I am not sorry. I'm sorry for how it happened. I'm not sorry for what I did at all. I'll do it again. So, yeah, that person tried to attack me, and I beat them to it. They were showing they was getting ready to hurt me, and I beat them to it. Second time, that other individual, the one that was on meth, kept on using the road. I don't want him using the road. I tried to get it through his head. I tried to do it nicely. And I found out something about people that are bad and like that on drugs, whatever. They make all this stuff. Oh, I'm sorry, man. I was on this then. I'm trying to do better. I'm sorry, please, man, please. And they'll make up all these lies and junk. And eventually, I had to put him down in the dirt. I don't mean dead, like I daggum took him down and he was on the dirt, pretty much. And both the times I had to do that first and that second thing, I had almost no problem in them people. Which is weird because most of my life I tried to be against violence. But sometimes violence is the answer. Or as Red Chucks likes to say, violence is always the answer. I wonder if that's a quote from somebody. I don't know. Anyway, so yeah. The first person that tried to attack me and failed because I beat them to it. because I saw the signs of him about getting ready to do that and just beat him to it before he got close enough to hit me with him advancing forward. I'd also dealt with that person another time, but the other 2 times I mostly just restrained him. And the individual that was on meth, the main thing he done the most wrong was hurting people in his own house. He beat up his sister a lot. He messed her and on other drugs in the past. I heard he messed up her face so bad one time somebody had to get her plastic surgery. So yeah, that's my 3rd thing going into Icy Mike's thing, and also my little story on the side talking about you can't always just move away from everything and just live in a bubble. Okay? If that's your mindset, you're not going to last this long in the real world when more real world problems start happening. So as always, thanks for watching. Give this video a like if you don't mind. Subscribe to me to see more stuff from me. Let me know in the comments. Let me know your stories. Let me know what you think. Let me know everything else. And as always, see y'all folks around.